Alright folks, Danny MacAskill here. This is my Friday 15 with Crankbrothers. Quarantine's not been too bad. I've been out on the e-bike a wee bit, just keeping it pretty chilled. Totally addicted to that, and we've also got a little trial set up here in the garden, so kind of ticking over, but raring to get back out in the hills soon. I first got into trials riding growing up in the Isle of Skye. There wasn't much else to do apart from ride my bike, so that's what I did every day. I didn't even know what I was doing was called trials in the beginning. I was just doing skids and wheelies in the local village. Started dropping off walls and breaking parts of my bike, and eventually got a bash guard for my bike, and some Maguras, which basically meant I became a trials rider at some point. My first bicycle was a little rally burner, I think 14-inch wheel or something like that. I think my dad actually got it from the dump originally, so it was a little bit rusty when I had it, but yeah, the first of many. My riding heroes growing up were Martin Ashton and Martin Hawes for sure. MBUK was massive in the UK. We also had Chris Ackrig, Ryan Leach, Jeff Lanowski, and of course the main man himself, Hans Ray. I'd say the best thing about living in Scotland has to be the epic landscape. There's just amazing mountain biking everywhere. There's a little bit of street in some of the cities, but our hills are just incredible. It also makes some good whiskey. So. I'd say the longest time it's taken me to learn a new trick, I would say it's something like sort of tail whips, which actually took me years to learn. Sometimes when you're learning how to do front flips, back flips, it can be, if you've got the right setup, something that you could actually learn in a day with the right, the right setup, as I say. But things like tail whips, I've never even tried to learn bar spins because they're pretty technical, but those things can take weeks, months, or even years to learn. It's hard to say what keeps me motivated when I'm learning new tricks or new lines. If it's filming, then I tend to have like a goal in mind of a new trick that's going to really set the tone for the whole film. Ideally you have a few sort of smaller tricks in the bag already, and I try to think back into all the hard work that we've put into those tricks to sort of push myself to learn the new one. It's all about perseverance. I mean, I'm very lucky that I just love riding my bike, so it's not necessarily a chore to try to sort of push myself to learn the next kind of thing, so yeah. Gymnasium took about 15 days to film altogether. We were actually really lucky to get into the gym before we started filming for about 4 days to play around with all the apparatus and sort of try to come up with some creative ideas beforehand. But yeah, it was about 14 days of work. Some of the tricks actually take me a couple of days to land, things like the ghosty to bike flip. Yeah, fun project. These days when I'm coming up with a new film, I usually try to start off with a really solid concept. If you look at things like Weedy Out, for instance, it was meant to be a jaunt through the Scottish countryside. I tried to think about all the obstacles that you'd come across on an everyday kind of mountain bike ride, and you try to turn the things that are obstacles into tricks. And then, yeah, you just try to come up with really creative and fun stuff, so yeah. I'd say for me it's pretty hard to say what would be a standout project. I've kind of loved every one of them really. They've all been pretty tough, but the film The Ridge that I filmed up in Isle of Skye in 2014 was probably one of the coolest films I've made. There wasn't actually too much stress on the riding side. I got to kind of go up in the mountains where I hadn't been before on my home island, and we got some amazing weather, so yeah. Oh, it's a tough one. Obviously my custom-made Santa Cruz carbon trials bike has to be one of my favourites, but also Santa Cruz's new Heckler e-bike is a standout for me. My goodness, I can't keep off the thing. It's transformed mountain biking for me here, so I just can't wait to get off quarantine to be able to go smash it around the hills. For me, Santa Cruz bringing out the new e-bike has been a bit of a game changer. You know, I was skeptical like everybody else about it's going to be heavy and everything, but it is unbelievable where you can go on it. I mean, it's kind of like mountain biking amplified for me, you know. It's like if you put the same energy you go out on a normal bike ride on the e-bike, it'll take you to places you wouldn't believe, so I'm loving it. The cool thing about trials is that it can be done on any bike. The first thing you want to do is lower your seat a little bit so you've got more room to maneuver. That way you can start with the basics, things like track stands, things like trying to move the bike around while static. And trials is a great sort of skill to have for mountain biking and every other kind of discipline as well. So I'd say one of the coolest places I've ever ridden my bike has to be Epiquen in Argentina. It's actually a flooded town that flooded back in the 80s, and since then the water's receded and it's left this incredible old sort of town landscape all encrusted with salt. Amazing light, amazing weather, and provided a really cool backdrop for film. Oh yeah, I can think of quite a few different riders I'd love to do a project with in the future. Acrig has to be a standout for me. We've talked about doing something for years, but you know, I'm sure it'll happen at some point. I'd love to do more with Pete and Hans at some point as well. It's cool hanging out with those legends. And of course Fabio as well. I'd love to do something with Fabio in the future, the young gun. The chance of me doing a video on the Stigmata, or don't know. You never know actually. I've not got any plans at the moment. It's a tough bike, so it would take a lot of abuse. I've not got any plans at the moment though. I'd say one of the coolest cities I've ever been to ride trials in has to be Vancouver. I was actually supposed to film a segment with Anthill back in 2011, filming straight all around the place there, but I slipped in goose crap, tore my meniscus on the second day of shooting, so that didn't go so well, but I'd love to go back to film something there one day. Thanks for watching. Head over to Crankbrothers Instagram page to see a wee clip I filmed this morning.